that's easier. You just gently glide your knife back and forth in a sweeping motion to frost, and then you want to make sure all that excess frosting starts to fall to the sides, because you're going to need it for when you do end up frosting your sides later. Right now we're just crumb coating, and that means we're just doing a really light layer of frosting over everything, just trying to cover most of those holes and get some frosting on the cake. So it's okay if it doesn't look perfect right now, because it's not really supposed to yet. You want to see some cake through the frosting. That's how thin you really do want it to be. So if it doesn't look perfect, don't worry. We're going to put it back in the fridge. It's going to harden for a little bit, and then after it's hardened, it'll be much easier to frost later. If you don't have a frosting tool like I don't right now, because I left it at my mother's house this weekend when I was baking with her, you can use anything. I'm using a butter knife right now, which works really well considering this is buttercream, so it's actually cutting through quite fine. And if you notice, I haven't gotten more frosting yet. I've only done one layer, and I'm just using that frosting to the best of my ability to just give this cake a really light cover. And as you can see, I'm not really digging into the cake when I go. I'm just placing my knife at an angle and then pulling it forward with my wrist. So, and my wrist and forearm. So I'm not like using the knife to go and pull forward, because then that creates like a mark. You just want to angle your knife gently and then pull forward and gather icing that comes off of there. That way you're not accidentally cutting into your cake whenever you are frosting it on the top, trying to cover it. And after we filled the cake, I went through with the piping bag and I just filled in the sides here. That's why they're a lot more robust than they were the last time you saw them. And that's what you always should do, because you want them to have that really clean look. So, almost done dirty icing. Like I said, doesn't have to be beautiful. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you really want one of these rotating tables. I'll never forget the first time I did a cake without one. It was a mess. I used a pie tin and I flipped it upside down. And I twirled it like that, like this, in order to make it work. But it was a miracle that it even worked the way it did. When you're frosting on the sides, just use really light back and forth motions. As you can see, I'm just like changing the angle of my knife. I'm not really doing much else, and that's what's really making it look nice and even as I go around. Might get some more frosting here in a minute. Let's see if I can make do with what I got. Like I said, you just keep angling your knife, keep moving forward if you need more frosting. See what you can get off your cake where it's already existing, and just scrape it on the side. Oh, I made a boo-boo there. We'll fix that later. Everything's easier to fix when the cake is cold, and that's why we throw it in the fridge after this. Because once it's cold, it's kind of set, and you're kind of free to move around it more than you normally are, because these cakes just kind of came out of the oven. But there you have it. That is how you crumb coat a cake. You can stop recording.